Hi everyone, I am so excited because I am speaking with author Sharon Prentice and we are talking about a book. It's been out a year and I just got to read it called Becoming Starlight, and she has it right in front of her. She's going to hold it up because I love this cover and I only saw it digitally and I'm catching it like it keeps catching like the light and it looks so cool. It's nice and glossy. I love that and I am so happy that I got to meet you and got to read your book, because everything you talk about in this book is so close to my, and I think the person Anna who hooked us up, I think she knew that. I really do. I feel like she knew it and she knew we needed to talk. So thank you so much for talking with me.
I am so glad to be here. I've wanted to talk to you too. I've watched some of your podcasts, and they're just fascinating, the people that you have on, and I knew we'd have a lot to share together. You've actually caught me in my office today. That's why the sweatshirt.
That's why the Maryland. Yeah, I know that it's Maryland, but I only see the top of her head at the moment. But that's
Well, I'm known as the sweatshirt doc
ah,
because the people that I work with are terminally ill and their families.
yes.
And, the white coat and the pretty blouse and all that doesn't work because I'm vomited on, I'm cried on, I get
Uh,
chemical on from the chemo and all that stuff. So I have a collection of sweatshirts in every color you can think of. So it just works better when somebody needs a hug. There's nothing softer.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
your book was so hard for me to get through, but I'm happy I did, because both of my parents died from pancreatic cancer.
Oh, okay. So you know exactly. Yeah.
And both were misdiagnosed.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
it was back.
It's one of the most misdiagnosed cancers out there because it mimics so many other things. So many people are told you have irritable bowel syndrome or you have Crohn's or you had, whatever. And they give you Mayox and all of those things that are supposed to help. And it doesn't help. But by the time it's diagnosed, because it hides, this cancer hides. And by the time it's diagnosed, you're normally stage 4.
Yeah,
And the survival rate of this type of cancer is, what is it, 1/2 of 1% now?
it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and they died. My dad died in 1988, so that was a while ago. They knew so little about it at that point, and the symptoms that he presented were actually very close to your husband's.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because he was sick. He was really sick. They did all kinds of different things. They actually thought he was anemic at one time, and then they thought he was, anorexic, and then they had all these other crazy.
Yeah.
By the time they told him, he died 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then my mom, which you would think that because of going through my dad that we would have noticed, but they kept saying it wasn't cancer, wasn't cancer. And then they told her September 16th. She died November 5th.
Yeah.
And we did
Yeah.
not do
Sure.
chemo with her. We knew better. She was like, no, just let me go. She was
Sure.
63 and she knew the deal, But
Yeah.
I think with this book, like kind of reliving it through your eyes, because I don't know anybody else. I've never read, and I'm now 54. It's been a while, but you put words to things that I didn't even think about with them, and especially with my mom, because she lived longer, of course. I got closer with her. My dad died when I was 23, so it was a little bit of a distance, and she died in 2011. And, when we can't help when we knew, like I knew with the diagnosis, they were afraid to tell me her diagnosis because of knowing that my dad died of pancreatic cancer. They were like afraid they were giving me a death sentence.
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? I mean, they really were at that time.
Sure. A lot of doctors are, number one, they don't know how to talk about death themselves.
Right.
In society, we just don't talk about it. We don't prepare for it. We don't know where to put it in our minds and in our brains and in our soul. It doesn't fit anywhere. So doctors will come in and they'll give you this very long medical term for what's going on, and then walk out of the room. And that's where they send me in. I know how to talk to people about these things, but a lot of them don't want to tell you because they don't want you to see it on their face. They do. I do not know one physician who likes to deliver a terminal diagnosis. Not one. They
Right.
don't know how to do it. They're not taught how to do it. So I guess in a way they thought they were protecting you, but in reality, it just makes it so much worse when they don't say, here's what's happening, here's what we can do, and then let you choose. But like you, I think your mom did the right thing not choosing, because there are some cancers, there are just some illnesses where I just tell people, go enjoy how much time that you may have with your family. Enjoy, do everything, let everyone know how much you love them, because the chemo is going to do nothing except poison you even more.
Yeah, she kind of knew. She worked in an oncology office, so she knew.
She knew.
Yeah. Even though they were saying stuff, she would look at me and go, "This is not good. This is, this is absolutely not good, and this is how we're going to deal with it." So.
And good for you for allowing her to tell you how she felt, and that you said, "Okay, Mom." You honored her wisdom and how she was going to spend her time, and you honored her decisions. You'd be surprised how many people don't, because they are reacting out of such fear and anxiety of losing the person that they love, and so they don't listen. You listened, and I'm proud of you for that. That's really good. Good for you.
Well, thank you. But so here's the thing, that what I loved about your book is when because I was raised a Christian, she was raised a Christian.
Okay.
Now, her ultimate concern at this time, that she was lucid for a very short period of time before she died, and she kept having me go get whatever priest was working.
Right.
Okay, whoever, she didn't care, rabbi, priest, whatever. Because she was so afraid that she had done something that she was going to go to hell.
Oh.
And so she needed reassurance from every religious person that I could grab, okay, to tell her that she was saved, forgiven, cleansed, And at that time, it's just so, time and how this all works out, and how God kind of protected me in this situation, is that I had discovered Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks.
Absolutely.
And I wanted, I kept saying to her, Mom, there's no hell. I know. And I knew the programming. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
But I was like, no, you're not going to hell. I promise. I promise. But I couldn't get through to her because it was too late, And
well, Michelle, we are taught from the time we're little kids, this is who God is, or this is where heaven is. You have to follow the straight and narrow, because if you don't, you're going to have lightning bolts thrown down at you, and then you are going to burn in everlasting fire. And our version of death, if you really think about it, in our society especially, when we think about death, we have this Halloween picture, the guy in the black robe with the sickle. And when we think about heaven and hell, we have these pictures. And as children, we need these pictures to understand what these adults are trying to tell us. But we incorporate that into our very being, and then that just scares the daylights out of us, and we don't know where to go. And when all of a sudden you get this diagnosis or some other tragedy comes, and you call out to this being that we have thought for our entire lives existed, and nothing, you just fall on your face. You don't know where to go. So I understand what your mom was feeling. It is a terrifying place to be. It really is.
Right. So let me tell you what happened when she died, because nobody has ever validated my experience, but you will.
Yeah.
Everybody's always like, yeah, okay, whatever, but this has been.
They're afraid. They're afraid of what you're going to say.
Probably.
They're afraid of what you're going to say because they don't know how to deal with it. And it's like they want to believe it so badly, and yet, arm's length, because it's almost heresy to some people. It's blasphemy. Tell me your story. I want to hear it. Tell me your story.
Okay. So, she died, even though it sounded quick, the end was actually long. And as you can imagine, day after day after day. And, so I had tickets that we were supposed to go see a comedy show. And my husband said, we're going. We're leaving the hospital. I mean, she was going to die. We knew she was going to die. It was hard to get me out of there. And he was like, we're going to see a comedy show. You can go back. Right. So we go to see this comedy show. And I'm a reader. And you've seen that. I'm a reader. And she used to mock me for reading. My mom was not a reader. And I see the books behind you. So anyway, so we go to this comedy show. I actually have a great time. And got home and I was tired. I was exhausted. And I was like, should I go to the hospital? And he's like, get a couple of hours sleep. You can go back in a couple of hours, but you
Yeah.
need some sleep, right? And I was like, fine, I will. I'll wake up early, set my alarm. And I'm getting chills as I'm saying this. So I go to sleep and I have this dream and I'm reading a book and the line says, and then her mom died. And
Oh,
I sat up like
yeah.
out of a dead sleep. My heart is racing. I turn to my husband and the telephone rings. And he said, I'll get it. And she died.
You know what that was.
I
You know,
don't, like,
honey, that was your mom saying to you, these things happen
like, how did she do that?
because, okay, how do I explain this? You understand. I don't even have
Right.
to words. How do I explain this? We are not this, okay? We are these wonderfully spiritual beings that it's this energy, and you are so bonded to your mom, okay? You are part of her soul, just as she is part of yours. And that bond will last just forever and ever and ever and ever. And that's how she did it, because being attached to you, not just in this physical world, okay, that's the smallest bond of all.
Right.
But when you get into the spiritual and the psychological and everything that we are, okay, your DNA is her DNA, not just physically.
Right.
Okay, but spiritually and every other way that's important. The two of you share that. For this communication just goes back and forth and back and forth. I tell people all the time that all of us have had some type of experience. It's just a matter of degree and how open we are to admitting that, hey, here's what happened to me, and understanding that it is more than just coincidence. This was more than you just opening up a book. Okay, this was your mom saying, hey, honey, here it is. I love you. It's time for me to go now, but I'm still here. See? That's exactly what she was saying too. What a wonderful experience for you.
Yeah, and it was almost like I didn't,
It's wonderful.
Even though it was jolting reading it,
Yeah.
but I didn't have to get woken up by the phone.
Exactly.
I was already awake.
Yeah.
And then the phone rang. So I felt like she was protecting me in a way of not getting the quote unquote phone call.
Right.
I mean, an hour later and I would have been there. But,
sometimes parents especially, no matter how old our kids are, we're going to protect them. And a lot of parents wait for their child to be gone because they do not want their child there at the moment of their death. They would rather, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this with my patients, okay? The family will hold vigil and never leave their
Yes, that's exactly what she did. Just waiting.
But then you will leave to go to the bathroom or to go to get a cup of coffee or go do something, and you come back and your mom or your dad.
And then you feel that guilt. Like at first I was like, it was an hour. If I would have woken up an hour,
Your mom chose the moment. I am a person, I have been with so many people that have passed from this world, so many people. Mm-hmm. And I have decided, okay, that the soul, the spirit, who you are, your energy makes the decision hours, sometimes days, before the actual physical death. And you start to leave little by little by little. Mm-hmm. That's why you hear some of these conversations between your loved one and people that you never knew, people in the past that have already passed on, and you have these you hear them having these conversations, and you think, who's she talking to? You may even be able to ask your mom or your dad or whoever it is that you're losing, who are you talking to? What's going on? Tell me what's happening. Listen to them, because what's happening is their soul is already starting to leave. They don't need this anymore. Right. Okay, they don't need it anymore, so they start to leave, and they make a decision. I so believe this. They make the decision, I'm going to do this when my family's with me, or I'm going to do this when my family leaves. For whatever reason, whether it's a protection device that the soul gives to and I think that we are so involved in the timing of our passing. I really, really do. And I think your mom chose to protect you. You're an only child?
No, but I'm the
Are
old.
you an only child?
I'm her oldest. My brother and her were not that connected at that time. They were
That's it.
very distant. So
Yeah.
I was the one there and taking care of her, and he was not there. And but I do think that, because people would say to me, "Well, how could she have done that? How could she go in your dream? How could she do that?"
Wasn't a, it wasn't a dream. There was a huge difference between a dream and the reality of what happens between you and your mom at that moment. It was purposeful.
Well, and then the couple days later, I had, and I don't, from reading your book, I'm like, it must have been a shared death, but it wasn't how you experienced it. But I experienced her in somewhere else. I was somewhere else,
Yeah.
undefined.
Mm-hmm.
She was wearing an outfit that she always wore. And she took my hands and looked me in the eyes. There was no words.
Right. You didn't need any.
And then she turned and walked, and I knew that I couldn't go with her. She turned, and I was like thinking to myself, no, because she just walked back. And then I was like, I woke up, and I'm like, and then I didn't think I was even sleeping. I woke up, but I wasn't really sleeping. And I was like, I met her in this space.
That's her way of coming to you to say, I'm okay.
Oh, yeah, she was perfectly healthy. Perfectly. Yeah.
And you do not need to have 1 ounce of guilt. Not 1 ounce of guilt because you weren't there, because your mom is the one that planned it this way, honey.
Yeah.
Mom planned it this way. And for whatever reason, you'll know when you see her again, you can say, why'd you do it that way? Okay, I wanted to be there with you, but for some reason, your mom chose to do it a totally different way. And I think that is a wonderful thing. It just shows you the power of God, the power of who He is in us and who we are in Him, that, we have these abilities that we don't even recognize. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, and until I never told anybody about that, but when I read it in your book, and I was like, well, the timing seemed, it wasn't shared death, like it wasn't at the time of her death. It was different. It was a week later, but it was definitely something. It was definitely something that I couldn't define and, couldn't talk about.
See, a lot of people, what I have discovered with shared death, and I've talked to people all over the globe that have had these types of experiences, because they'll say to me, mine wasn't exactly like yours. I said, no, because your experience isn't exactly the same as mine. Yeah. The soul of the person who was leaving, it wasn't exactly the same as what I was going through. So, of course, your experience will be different. What I have discovered is that sometimes you have to be open enough to receive.
Right.
And what I went through, I was totally open to the universe because there wasn't anything left of me. I mean, after my daughter's death and then my husband's death, you could have just knocked me over and I wouldn't have cared what you did to me. Okay. So I was totally open and totally surrendered. A lot of times when people go through something like what you did, you had a little bit of time, but you didn't have an enormous amount of time.
Right.
Your soul, your spirit had to be numb enough. Okay, numb enough so that you were open enough to receive it. And when you saw those words in the book, like you said, it was a jolt. Okay, you had to have a little bit of time to incorporate, I wasn't there, I feel guilty, oh my gosh, why couldn't I have been there, blah, 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 before you were open enough to be able to see and share your mom's experience with her. These things can't come to us when we're not ready for them.
Right.
Okay, so that was your sign. You were ready.
I love that. And then, at the 6-month anniversary of her death, right?
Right.
Just so happens this psychic woman comes to our town, and somebody drags me to this. You got to go see this psychic. Okay, fine. So I show up, and I'm open enough for this. Sure. I'm not closed off from it, but I don't know what to expect. And she says to me, my son and his wife had just had a miscarriage. Okay, would have been my first grandbaby. And the psychic looks right at me and says, I see your mom, gives me her name, description, everything. I'm like, yes, that's her. She said she wants me to tell you that you are going to have so many grandchildren within the next couple of years. You won't. And I was like, I'm like, no, no, no. I just my son had there was only one married son. Okay. I'm like, they just had a miscarriage, so that's not, happening. And she's like, I don't care. This is what she's telling me to tell you. In 3 years, I had 9 grandchildren.
I mean, come on.
Come on.
There's no other way to even explain other than these things.
Everybody started. I have 6 children, so let's just put it out there.
Right.
But only one of them was married at that time, and they just all grandbabies were happening. Everybody was getting pregnant. I had, triple people pregnant at the same, and they each had 3 children in such a short period of time. It was incredible.
That's so great, and Mom knows this too.
And she, the way the woman said it, like, with such, and it was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. But you couldn't have looked at my situation at any of my children and said, yes, that's what's going to happen. And then it did. So it's like, how does that happen? I don't know. But I'm just telling you, that's what happens.
That's absolutely wonderful. I didn't think that there was going to be anything, left of me and for me. I did have my son, who was my... and it still is the absolute joy of my life. And I had 8 grandchildren. 8. And my little one, I tell you, my last grandchild, when she was born early, and she wasn't breathing when she was born. And my mind just drifted back to that moment when my little one died in my arms. And my son was absolutely terrified. And I was there with him, and I said, it's going to be just fine, honey. And it was. And I just knew that everything was going to be fine. And this awakening that we all have to understanding who we are, okay? And when you start to accept who you are and you have your faith based on the truth of your reality and the truth of the universe and who you are to God and who God is to you, I can't say that enough, that you just... This trust just flows out of you, and you know that things are going to be exactly the way they're supposed to be, and it enters your heart, and you feel totally safe saying, like what I did, it's going to be fine, honey. It's going to be fine. And it was, so it's not that the grandchildren, and I'm sure it's this way with your son and with you, it's not that all of these grandchildren replace the ones that you lost, because they never can replace the 1 or 2 that you lost, because we are still bound to them. We are still bound to them. Okay, so the one that you lost is with your mom. Okay, and I very rarely use the word heaven, because as soon as you use the word heaven, you get these pictures of the minister or the priest or whoever told you. And as I said in the book, that is not at all what I found, But this place where we end up, where we are more whole than we are now, they're all there. And we're all still bound energetically and spiritually, and we share our lives if we're open enough to see it.
That's one question I wanted to ask you after I was finished reading. I was so happy that I was going to get to talk to you, because I think what everybody wants to know who's lost anyone is like, sometimes I'm looking for her. Like, I'm looking, like, is she, if I go through something, where, is she, like, because, she used to say to me, because she used to talk to a lot of psychics, she had her moments, and she'd say, when I leave, like, look, because I will haunt you down, like, I will be there. And I'm like, okay, it's been since 2011, and I haven't seen physical, it's almost like we look for this, like, who she was or what she was then or something. We're looking for that. So what do you think, like, when you're thinking about looking for, or evidence or whatever you want to say?
I talk to them all the time. I talk to them every day. I do. I talk to them every day. When I need them, I say, hey, okay, come talk to me, come tell me whatever. And I know it's them because it just makes me smile. I mean, it does. I know that. Now, a lot of people look for signs, okay? But the problem with signs is you don't know what you're looking for, okay? You don't know what you're looking for. And energy has the ability, spirit has the ability to be anything it chooses to be. So the way that I do it is, if something really catches my eye and makes me turn my head, or if I've just been thinking about them, or I've said, look, I need help here, Okay, I need an answer of some kind. Come tell me something. Tell me, come tell me. And then something catches my eye or something just, pops into my head. I know it's them. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are spiritually bonded and we always will be. That I did this a seminar yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch of women. Okay, it was a high tea party, is what they called it. Everybody had to wear cocktail dresses and hats, and I live, like I said, I'm known as a sweatshirt doc. Okay, I wear sweatshirts. I didn't even have a dress. I had to go and get one. It was so much fun, and somebody asked me almost this very same question. And then someone said to me, well, if you keep looking for signs and some type of assurance that they're still there, you get closure. And that made me laugh because actually my next book is about the absolute myth of closure. Closure does not exist. People spend their entire lives searching for this thing, okay? And by doing that, they stay in this perpetual state of grief. The thing about closure is this. There's a difference between acceptance of what is and closure of something that was. When you talk about it, closure that way with what you went through with your mom, your lost grandbaby, your dad, all of that, why on earth would you want to close that chapter of your life? Every single thing about you. You are a result of every experience you've ever had. So what I tell people is, don't look for that closure. Don't look for something that is an impossibility and something you wouldn't do anyway. Grow around it. Incorporate it into your life. Take the lessons and the love and all of the meaning that these people gave to you in your life and thrive from it. So when you're talking about how do I know it's them, you know it's them because you are so connected to them and you will be till the day you die and you stand in front of them and say, I knew that was you. Okay, so that's how I know. It's just overriding feeling. Sometimes I get chill bumps from it. Sometimes it makes me cry. Does that happen to you? Do you just sob sometimes? They're so close to you, you can feel them. Sometimes it's a dream. That's so incredibly vivid that you wake up and you know that there was no dream. They are coming to you through DNA memory, through soul memory. And soul memory is very, very different from a dream because you are bonded and you are connected and you always will be. It's them.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, I have 6 children, and, I'd say to her, like, oh, my God, these kids are driving me crazy. So that's when I'll be like, Mom, they're driving me crazy again. They're being mean to me. Like, you got to help me with them. I don't know what to do with them because sometimes they feel like a collective bunch that I gave birth to that,
Yes. I know.
And then I feel, and if they talk about her in the past tense, a lot of times my daughter will be like, talk about her, and I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. I don't really think of her that way. And then I realize that I don't think of her in the past tense. I think of her in a very present tense.
So do I.
So, yeah, so it's weird to me when somebody refers to her in the past, and I'm like, no, because I really feel like she's helping me somehow. I don't think she's gone. I think she's here. I don't know where, but I think she's right here.
Yes, right now. She is closer to you now than she ever was in her physical life.
Yeah.
Honest to God, she's closer to you now than she ever was. My dad was...
I love those stories.
My dad was the best part of my life. Usually the mom's the heart of the home.
Yeah.
And my mom was just a gem, but my dad, he was it. And I lost him 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. That was one of the hardest losses I've ever had. But, to this day, I know he's here with me. And when I'm going through some type of tragedy, trauma, whatever it is, I call on my dad. I still do it. I'm like, all right, Daddy, tell me what to do here. Help me with this. And he always does. He always does. I have a very active dream state, especially since my experience with this near-death experience. I have a very, very active dreaming. Matter of fact, all of my papers and I wrote Starlight in my dreams. I did. I would go to bed at night, I get up in the morning, and write it down. That's how I do everything. And because of what I do, about 90% of my patient population are all terminally ill and their families. And because of that, I bring it home because I know the pain. You know the pain and the grief and people are feeling and where they are headed. And sometimes it's hard to shake that off. I can't shake that off of them because I'm always thinking, what can I offer to them? What haven't I offered to them? What word can I say to help take away some of the anxiety and the fear, to restore the faith and the hope and realize that death really is just birth in reverse. You're just going home. Right. What can I say? So there are some times at night where I need that extra little bit of help, and my dad will tell me. It happens all the time, and that is because of this connection that we all have. There is something to soul memory, and there is something to the collective unconscious and the ancestral archetypes, and people can throw those words out, but when you really start looking at what they are, it is DNA expression through soul. That's what it is. It's exactly what it is. And that's what you have. That's exactly what you have with your mom. It's great. You're never going to lose it.
Yeah. And I always feel, when they always say, like, you pick your parents.
Yes.
And having, I think all you have to do is have children and just know that they've picked you. Like, you feel picked, Right. Well, my parents, my mom got pregnant with me when she was 16.
Wow, young.
In high school, yes. So we were like sis. That's why the connection I always felt like was so tight, because she got kicked out of her house. She had to marry my dad, who was of age and at a time when you weren't allowed to be over 18. So he had to marry her. But then they ended up staying married. And when I was reading your story, that was her story, because she was 38 when my dad got sick. And so from 38 to 40, she nursed him. And I had to watch her, because I was living with her, nurse him. And even though her grief was so deep in losing him and being married to him for 25 years, but there was, like, I saw a moment, and I don't know how many months out of it was, that she kind of woke up because of being that caregiver and sleeping with him and taking care of him and his medication and his, she had files of his medical,
I know that.
I know. And when I was reading your story, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I was observing it, okay, but I wasn't living it. Yeah. And I'm so happy when I read it, because I was like talking to her going, wow, look what you went through. Like, nobody understood, even for as close as her and I were, unless you are that person, because he was my dad, but it was her husband.
Yes.
And she was losing her partner,
Yes.
And
it's different. It's so different. And that is exactly why I do what I do. Because there was no one there to talk to your mom.
Nope.
She had to do it all on her own.
Oh my gosh, and there was no one. And you know what happened? After he died, she ended up getting appendix cancer right away. But she got it was very taken care of, okay? Yeah. But I thought, and then she got a year off of disability to recover, and I was like, that she wasn't recovering from that. She was recovering from everything.
Yeah.
And then she kind of woke up, and she did live a life. She got remarried. She had, she went on to have a life, but she was young. I didn't realize how young, just like you don't realize, like, because she was my mom, I didn't realize, like, oh my God, here's this woman who's under 40 going through this stuff,
Yeah.
So your book, like, brought me closer to her, because I got to see what her life was like,
You can see it. Yeah, I'm glad. I protected my son. And I'm sure your mom protected you.
I think she did. I didn't know a lot of that,
I kept my son from it too, like I said in the book, that I would be with my husband going through all of this, but then when I was with my son, we swam with the mermaids, and it was, I kept everything. I don't know how I did it. There was two of me,
yes.
And I look back on it now and I think, how in the world did I do that? And my son didn't even really realize until he actually read the book of everything that had happened through the years, of course. I would tell him bits and pieces.
Right.
To actually read it. Do you know it took me 6 months just to write that one chapter about Stephanie?
Oh my God.
6 months.
Mom.
It was really funny, because when I finished writing and I sent it to my editor, who's an absolute dream, and she wrote me back and she says, Sharon, do you really want to be that vulnerable? And I changed it up a little bit, but I told her, I said, this book is meant to help people. This isn't a book just about me. This is a book about millions of women out there, and men, but more women because we're the caretakers.
Yeah.
And this is about women who have no place to go, have no support system, lose their faith, identity, and lose their love, and are left on their knees. And I wanted people to know that no matter how far down in the muck and mire you find your face, you can always stand back up and say, I'm here. I'm here. This is what happened to me, and this is what happened to my loved one. But I know that I am, as Wayne used to say, I am this magnificent expression of God. And I honestly feel like what happened to me in this experience was for 3 reasons. I think I was given this experience for 3 reasons. One was because Steve loved me so much that when he passed, he actually said to God, can we give her a peek? I mean, just a little bit, because if you don't, if we don't, I don't know what's going to happen to her. And number 2, I think at the time of his death, like I said in the book, there wasn't anything left of me. I had lost this battle, which was so stupid to set up anyway. I mean, what kind of a battle are you going to have with God? I mean, come on. Exactly. I was going to lose in the beginning, but oh no, I'm stubborn and I was in control of everything, right? So I think at the moment of his death, when I realized that I had breathed in his last breath, and I just fell, I think that was when God said, all right, there she is. She's mine. I've had enough of this crap, and I'm going to take her to me and show her that everything is the way it's supposed to be. And the more after this was all over, I started thinking, why me? Why did this happen? So I started reading and talking, and I went to see priests and monks, and the Buddhists, and some people from Islam, and some Hindu, everything, trying to find an answer. And one of the things that kept coming back to me was these people were talking about sacred word and centering prayer. And when I realized that Steve had died, the doctor that was in the room and both my parents were in the room, they said that this noise that came out of me was so guttural. And I think what happened was that noise was sort of, the primal scream that only God can hear. And so I think it all happened at the same time. And this became my sacred word, which took me into that fibrous netting that is our universe. And that's when God said, oh, I hear her. And took me. I think it was those 3 things that gave me this experience, because I'm no different than anybody else. And if anybody should have been judged, it would have been me. Right. Because of all the horrible things that I did. And that's when it was during that experience that I learned about heaven. And to get back to what you said originally, hell. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. Hell doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. If you really think about it, it makes no sense, because this omnipresent, amazing, wonderful, marvelous, take every word you can think of, that is magnificent, put it all together. Why would a being like that, who created you from his very breath and his very thought, send you to an everlasting... Right. And everything he does is logical and makes total sense. That makes no sense at all. I think we create our own hells by separating ourselves from him.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I loved about, because when I had the realization when she was dying, and I was like, there can't be a hell. They're just, this is a good woman. Okay, right. Like, I'm not saying she didn't make mistakes, but this is a good one. Like, and if she made mistakes, I was like, well, then I'm, then forget it. Like, if this is some kind of test we're here for,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if we're here for a test, it's like, I'll just fail now. Like, why do I have to go through till I'm 80? Like, let's just call this quits right now and just say, and just say fail and just stamp it, and be like done, right? Like, I'm done. But that's what I thought.
So many people are so afraid of, I haven't been good, okay? Yes. I did this or I did that or whatever. And they forget, people don't understand that this is a journey we're on. And we are that, like I said earlier, that expression of God. It was like he's thinking, you know what, I want to express myself in the world. Zap, there you are. Mm-hmm. You are that expression of him. He's going to send his own expression to this place where he's going to burn himself. And I'm using the masculine form because it just makes it easier to talk about. But that thought that is put into our heads when we're children causes so much anxiety and so much fear over this that when it does come time, when we ourselves are dying, or someone dying, the regrets and fears and anxieties and the, oh my gosh, and all of the things that we are all looking for absolution, all of us, because of what we're taught. And we are never going to get that absolution until we stop lying to ourselves and admitting to ourselves who we are, that what we believe is not blasphemy. It is not, it's not any of the stuff that the organized church tells us. And once we find our reality and we buy into it, we stop lying to ourselves about who we are, we find our spiritual nature, and the fear and the anxiety just goes away, and you realize you're going home.
Right. And so is that how you feel now, like about death? Like, right? You don't.
Absolutely. The last chapter in the book is called Should I Be Afraid? Right. And the reason I named it Should I Be Afraid is because that question, every single person I work with at one time or another says, hey, Doc, should I be afraid? Yeah. And when I say, let me tell you a story. And I have told the story of Starlight so many times, I could have probably just written it out, without even thinking about it, because I've told it so many times to people. And death to me, this sounds so bad, but it's so true. I've been with so many people when they've died, and I really have to watch myself because my first reaction is to smile. Smile. And you know why? Because my thought is, now they know. They're home. They're feeling what I felt. But you can't really smile, when you're with these people who have just lost someone they love and they're devastated. So I had to take care of that first. Right. But for me, my knowledge of what death is, because of my experience, I'm not afraid of death itself. Now, the process of dying is the thing that most people are afraid of, and they don't even realize that these two things.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and just even watching, my parents, I feel like, I look through, pancreatic cancer is always always in the back of my head. What were those symptoms? Because it's hereditary. It's completely hereditary. You get two parents.
Yes.
It's hereditary. So it's like you're constantly looking for those, But then I come to a point and I'm like, my brother used to get tested every year for it. Yeah. And then he gave that up. And I was like, you just have to give it up. There's a way to go, every way is picked, and it doesn't, both of them went pretty quickly. So, it is kind of a path of least resistance way to go.
Sure. These hereditary cancers, we're learning so much about cancer, and there are so many different types, okay?
Right.
And to say that something is absolutely hereditary, what is truth today is not going to be truth tomorrow.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And you can make such a difference in your life. This is another thing I do with all of my people. Yeah. That do a lot of nutritional counseling and lifestyle habits and all of that kind of thing, because your journey does not necessarily have to be what your parents was because somebody told you it's hereditary. Now, does that mean that you have a little bit of higher risk than someone else? Yes.
Right.
Okay. And so that's why we try to mediate it any way that we can, but to be afraid of it and let it affect you.
Right.
Okay, life is like right now.
Exactly. I love that part in your book when you were talking about, because we don't, we spend our time regretting, you said regretting our past. Yes. And then fearful of the future, or trying to think about the future, what am I going to do, what is going to look like. I look at my kids and I think, what is going to happen there, and what I spend so much time. But if you just what about today?
We don't know how to live. We are forgetting to live. I told the ladies this yesterday, because as women, we just don't even think about us right now.
Right.
I had them actually look at the ladies sitting on each side of them, and I said, I want you to think about what was, what is, and what will be. And you realize that every woman sitting next to you has at one time or another had your what was, what is, and what will be. And if we concentrate on the two ends, we miss the very middle, and we forget how to live. And so when it comes time, we're all mortal, okay?
Yeah.
And when we are faced with somebody saying to us, there's a possibility you could die, we don't know what to do with that.
Right.
Because we all see ourselves as always being here. And so when someone says that to you, it's like, and then the regrets come in. I don't want anybody to have any regrets. I want them to live now. I want people to realize that things, anything that you're feeling over dying, it need not be, because we all know we're going to die. So why worry about it?
So why spend today thinking about it? It's like, well, I'm here today, so tomorrow I can't do anything about. Right?
So live today so that the regrets, when it comes my time, I just want to say, and I told everybody, have one a hell of a party.
Yes.
Okay? Talk about how it was the greatest thing that God ever put on the planet, and rejoice at the fact that we found each other, that we were given to each other to enjoy each other, and just the love and the sharing and the journey together. That's the important thing. So when I die, I told everybody, I don't want a lot of tears. I don't want any of that stuff. I want y'all to go out and have one hell of a good party and remember the way I really was, not this idealized version that we always, put up with everybody, okay? A lot of people come back from these experiences and they say they're the angels of light and, all of that, and they can see the light in people, not me. Not me. I came back as an absolute warrior. I'm a rebel. And what I came back with was that I can see the darkness, okay? And that's why I do what I do. I see the darkness, and it's my job to expose that darkness so the light can get out. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I do. And I do it in my sweatshirts proudly, so,
That's so awesome. This book, I know, like you said, it's touched so many people. It mattered to me. I mean, it was like things things that people can't even, like you said, it took 6 months just to write that. That's because we don't know how to even say that. You put words to things we can't even say out loud,
Yeah. I talk with a lot of people from this national group called Helping Parents Heal. Mm-hmm. These are people who have lost children. And I am that crazy person that says what everybody else is thinking, but is afraid to say. That's my job, okay? Yeah. I know what's in their heads because I've been there, and they don't want to say it because they don't want to hurt anyone else, or they don't want to bring back memories or whatever. But it's my job to bring out the hurt, and it's my job to bring out the memories so that you can incorporate them and grow around them, and to get, unrecognized grief. I'm not saying unresolved grief. Right. I'm saying unrecognized grief has many, many faces. And those faces are depression, sadness, anxiety, rage, fear, all of these things. And until I can get someone to recognize that what they're really feeling is grief, they're not feeling depression. They're not feeling any of those. It is an unrecognized grief. And when I can get somebody to sit in front of me and cry and sob like crazy, then I know I got them. Because their insides are saying, take this from me. I've got to get rid of this. And that's what Starlight is meant to do. It is meant to show people you're not alone. You were never alone. There are millions of us out here who didn't know how to talk about it, who didn't know how to deal with it. And I want people who have been through these experiences to identify with it just like you did, because you found part of your mom that you didn't know. Right. And that's validation for your experience. And that's what Starlight's all about.
Yes. So, okay, before I let you go, you say you're writing another book.
Yes, I am. I'm halfway through.
Okay.
It is about closure. And it's actually called The Rock and the Tree. That is the main title. And the reason I call it that is because in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, there was this tree that years and years and years and years ago, there was this massive flood. And there was this big tree next to this stone house. And the flood was so bad that it was just knocking down all the houses. And this one house, stone, part of the chimney fell into the middle of the tree. Well, when they were cleaning up, the tree was still there. And then there was this rock right down in the middle of the tree. And they debated, should we cut the tree down? Should we do whatever? And so one guy said, no, let's leave it alone. It's been in the town for so long. Let's leave it. Year after year, they would have this debate. Should we take it down? It's an eyesore. Should we take it down? And then one day, it started to bloom. it started to grow. And I actually have a picture of the tree that's going to be on the cover of the book. So I call it The Rock and the Tree, and I say, don't look for closure. Look to incorporate that pain, grow around it, and thrive. So the book is all about stop looking for closure, people. Okay? This rock that has fallen into your life, this rock that has devastated your heart, you're down on the floor and bits and pieces, you can grow again from it if you incorporate it and take the lessons and the love learned from it and thrive.
I love that.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it, and maybe we can talk again, which I would be so thrilled to talk to you again. Show everybody the cover one more time, and I'm gonna put the IndieBound link so you can go to your local bookstore, Amazon. You can get it today, and all of your links, your website, and all your social links, so everybody can find you. And you are doing such amazing work, and I love when I talk to people that take a hurt and then make it go out there and make it.
Well, you don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
You either make it work for you, or you might as well just lay down and die and forget it.
That is what, right?
Yep.
And I can see you just shine, and I'm so, I'm like so happy because I read the story, and you just never know. You're like, oh, but then I look at you and I'm like, oh my God, look at you. Like, you can go through everything in that book and then look at you. So
it is such a sharing thing, and my goal, as I said before, is to let people know that what awaits them is so unbelievably magnificent, and the fear isn't necessary, and that when you have these experiences, believe them, accept them into your life, and learn from them. Take them for what they are, which is just this magnificent love and bonding that can never, ever, ever be taken away from us.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we get to talk again someday. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.